Okay, Julia, what's your second tip for us today, please?
So the second tip, we've already made mention a little bit of it, is talking about maths revision being revisioning of the maths. We know with maths revision, you know, we tend to leave that to the end of the year, towards the end of the year. Students spend a lot of time producing a revision timetable, figuring out when they can do it, getting all their books together, getting their revision guides together. But actually, in the book, The Revision Revolution, which is my latest one, which is wonderful, it says that revisions should start from day one of a course, not at the end. We need to keep going over what it means to revise, how to revise, when to revise, where to revise, who to revise with, what to revise. And so, you know, there's two other elements to this. There's a fantastic PD guide, professional development guide, that was produced years and years ago from the NCETM, and it's readily available still, and it does help us to go through those aspects of maths revision. What can you do? Where can you do it? Who can you do it with? How can you do it? Why should you do it? And what can you do? So, you know, there's a really good professional development angle there. As I said previously, seeing it differently, revisioning the maths. We've got some fantastic resources out there now that, you know, coming on stream the whole time. We're spoiled for choice with MathsBot, interwoven maths, starting point maths. Fantastic ways in which we can be very efficient with not just one aspect of maths but tying them in together. So it's a clever choice of resource, clever choice of media, so it could be a video, could be some self-assessment, could be a diagram, an animation to have a look at, looking at things from a different angle, but starting that process from day one, that daily maths of wanting to do some maths for yourself because you actually recognise that that's going to have a significant impact on your outcome. It's a very different beast, isn't it, maths revision, to anything else. You can't just put a poster up on the wall and go, oh yeah, I know that now. You've just got to do the maths. You've got to do the maths. There's also a project management tool which is brilliant, called the Pomodoro technique, which is about using a little red tomato kitchen timer. Other vegetables are available, and actually using that as a project management tool to manage your time without distractions. So you put the timer on for 10 minutes, put your phone away, put everything else away, clear your desk, and work through that 10 minutes solidly, 10 minutes complete focus until the timer goes off, and then you go and do something else. Then you might come back and do another 10 minutes. But the Pomodoro is a kind of, it might be a gimmick, but I think as a serious project management tool, because that's what it is, it can really help us as well. And in my experience, those kind of gimmicky things in the classroom actually have really good effect. Oh, this sounds quite good, you know, it's a project management tool. It can be a bit of fun as well, and it's all about focus. So giving the students the tools for the job to revise is part of this key. We can't just presume that they can do it. You know, we've just got to recognise that we have to spend some time getting them to value the qualification, believe they can do it, and put some effort in, but also then think, well, how can we make that easiest for them? Do they know actually what to do, where to go, what to look at, what can they do for themselves?
Ooh, okay, lots to dive into here. I like this. First off, what's the NCTM resource, Julia? I don't think I'm aware of this one.
It's the revision-based approach, so it's a professional development module on revision. I think it's just called revision. It's from years and years ago, but there's about 5 different pages of activities, but the biggest one in there is a carousel activity. So your learners come into the room, your students come into the room, and on 5 tables there are how to revise, what to revise, where to revise, who to revise with. You know, they can go round and put their own ideas together. We can start the conversation around maths revision, but starting that from day one rather than starting at Easter or Christmas is so valuable. And as I say, you know, there's the book itself, The Revision Revolution, How to Build a Culture of Effective Study. With maths, I think this is just fundamental, starting it from day one rather than leaving it till the end.
That's great, that. Just a couple of other follow-up questions. The first is, I'm always intrigued by the messaging here, Julie, that you give. So obviously, I love this idea of starting revision on day one. What are you saying to kids there to get them on board? Because again, if we're talking GCSE resitters, they're probably not going to be like buzzing with enthusiasm to get cracking. How do you get them on board with this?
I think it's just it's looking at things. I mean, the National Numeracy themselves on their website, they've got loads of YouTube channel videos from ambassadors and celebrities selling positive messages about maths, and it is about making that positive, creating that positive culture in the maths classroom. And again, you yourself in this book talk about, being the positive role model. If you're not positive about the maths and the impact it can have on your life, on your work, on your, the statistics from National Numeracy, over your lifetime at work, you'll earn so much more than someone that hasn't got the minimum qualification required. It is about being that positive ambassador, reminding them that, that the stories of someone like Lauren Reed. Lauren Reed was a student at City College, Plymouth. She passed her maths at the 9th attempt. So talking about Lauren Reed and the fact that she'd sat with every awarding body at every tier. She'd gone through all of her she'd gone through school, hadn't passed at the particular grade. We mustn't talk about the grade 1, grade 2, grade 3 as failures. They have got a grade. They haven't failed. They haven't made the minimum expected standard. Lauren Reed did that 8 times, and at the 9th time she passed. So we need to talk about that. We need to share that with learners. She needed it to get into university, and we know that later on people change careers. They might decide later on they want to be a nurse or even a maths teacher. It's about selling those positive messages, reinforcing why it's probably one of the most valuable qualifications for them to get, and just reiterating the fact that you're there to facilitate it. I can't do the work for you. You've got to do the work, but I'm going to do my damnedest to help you along the way.
Is there any difference in message, do you think, between what a Year 11 teacher would be saying versus a Year 12 resit teacher? The only thing I'm thinking is that obviously the only difference is that perhaps almost by definition that those resit students have experienced this negative experience at this high stakes exam. Is there any benefit in acknowledging that? Because you can imagine a Year 11 teacher saying the exact same things that you've said about how important maths is, positive role models and so on. Do we need to acknowledge that this kind of, in inverted commas, failures has happened, or is it the same kind of messaging all the way through, if that makes sense?
It's the same kind of messaging all the way through, isn't it? Why would you not want to be positive about the maths in your classroom at whatever age? Maths is maths. It's not about beating the system, beating the awarding body. It's about building good mathematicians and getting them over that kind of maths anxiety. There's lots of maths anxiety, the cultural references that we have to maths. We need to have those conversations. It's we do have some anecdotal evidence of Year 11s doing the 5 hours kind of revision year approach as well, and there's all this motivational stuff in there, a little bit of maths every day, just do the maths, keep calm and do the maths. There's little videos. I don't know if you've seen that really old video of the boy that passes his GCSE result and he takes it home and his dad just cries. His dad just cries and cries out loud. It's just the most uplifting video ever. But having all of those messages for Year 11, Year 10 even, going all the way through college as well, will really, really impact the outcomes.
Fantastic. Final point on this, just on the Pomodoro technique. I've dabbled. I love any kind of flipping productivity hack or anything. I try them all out. Have you seen this, Julie? There's a big trend at the moment for people filming themselves studying on YouTube for like 3-hour videos, and the idea is you study along with them. It's absolutely unbelievable. So these guys will sit down and they're saying, right, I'm going to work for 2 hours and I'm going to do Pomodoro or whatever, and they film themselves doing it, and the idea is everybody else does it at the same time, and you're getting hundreds of thousands of people doing this, and that's quite a nice idea, isn't it? You kind of, because revision can be quite an isolating experience. But if you're there with someone who else is doing it, even if you're not there physically with them, I think that's quite nice. So I'd never seen that until fairly recently, and I thought, you know what, you can imagine for some students who are particularly, they're sat in the room, they're on their own, but actually they've got a real positive influence there with them, somebody who's working at the same time. I thought that was quite nice.
I haven't seen that before. I think that's just absolutely brilliant. And I think there's a message there that if we can't beat them, we have to join them. And one of the things I've got involved in more recently is a TikTok channel for alternative methods. I haven't launched it yet. It's got a few glitches because I can't use the music I want to use, and I'm trying to get around that. But, you know, it is about talking in their language, isn't it, as well, and using the things that they use. So highlighting in this carousel, maybe the NCETM carousel, you know, how can you revise? Well, you could put the YouTube channel on with someone and join in a kind of, you know, a MOOC, a massive open online thing where everyone else is joining in. I think that's wonderful. Why not?
Fantastic.